In this video, we're going to introduce you to an angle of depression, solving real-life problems. Recall from the previous lesson that the angle an upward line of sight makes with a horizontal line is called the angle of elevation. So let's just quickly review that idea. So here's my person, and let's get my drawing tool here. Let's say they're looking. So this is going to be my horizontal right here. And let's say they're looking up at something. So let's say that's my line of sight right there. And the angle between my horizontal and my line of sight is my angle of elevation. So this guy right here, that's my angle of elevation. And here we'll label this real quick. This is line of sight. And this is the horizontal. All right. The angle that a downward line of sight makes with the horizontal line is called the angle of depression. So if I'm up here and I am looking down at something, so there is my line of sight looking down, and here is my horizontal. This angle right in here is my angle of depression. And the thing I want to be very careful with on both of these is, notice where my horizontal is. So do not get confused on where your horizontal is. So you're going directly from yourself straight across. That is always where the horizontal is. And always make sure you include the correct horizontal when you're working with either an angle of elevation or an angle of depression. And then obviously you want to, make sure you use the correct line of sight. So if you're looking up, the angle in between the horizontal and your line of sight is your angle of elevation. And if you are looking down, this angle right in here is your angle of depression. Now, let's take a look at an actual example problem here. So it says you are skiing down a hill with an altitude of 800 feet. All right, so let's try to start setting up a little picture here. So I'm going down, definitely skiing down a hill. And I know that my hill has an altitude of 800 feet. So the altitude's like my height here. So let's draw in altitude here. And we know exactly how tall this thing is. Let's label that. So this is 800 feet right here. Okay. So you are skiing down a hill with an altitude of 800 feet. The angle of depression is 15 degrees. So now I need to get where my angle of depression is. Now, you might be very tempted to put that 15 right here. But remember, my angle of depression is formed by my horizontal and my line of sight, right? So this right here does not involve a horizontal. And this one doesn't really have a line of sight, but think of your hill as kind of like your line of sight in this example. So I want to, let's draw in our horizontal here. So let's go straight across here. So there's my horizontal. So my angle of depression is going to be right here. So this angle is where my 15 degrees is. So the angle of depression is 15 degrees. Find the distance x you ski down the hill to the nearest foot. So my distance that I'm skiing, well, that's going to be right here, right? So let's color code that real quick. So the distance that I ski down the hill would be right here. And we're calling that x feet, and we're going to round this to the nearest foot when the time comes. Okay, so from here, we got to get a right triangle in here somehow. And notice that I kind of have a couple options here. So let's finish drawing this picture in. So one option, actually here, I'll work this out in both ways. So one option would be to work with this right triangle. But the problem is, at the moment anyway, I don't have any angles here. I can get this angle. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's deal with what we actually have here. So if this is 800 feet right here, just imagine shifting this vertical line over to this side of the picture. Basically, you kind of have like a rectangle here. This is also going to be 800 feet. I'm just shifting it over in my picture. So its height is not going to change. And right here is my right angle. And I know this is 15. I know this is some number x. I know this is 800. So with respect to this angle, so what do I have with respect to this angle? Well, I have my opposite. So my opposite would be this 800 feet right here. And I have my hypotenuse. This is across from the right angle. So this x right here is my hypotenuse. So if I have opposite and hypotenuse, what trig function am I using? Well, back to my SOHCAHTOA idea. It's sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I'm here. If I have opposite over hypotenuse, I am dealing with the sine of 15 degrees is equal to 800, my opposite, over this mystery number x, which is how far that I'm skiing down the hill. To solve this, all right, so how do I get this x by itself? Well, this is going to be a two-step process here. I have to multiply both sides by x. These are going to cancel out. So I have the sine of 15 times x is equal to 800. And then I can divide both sides by the sine of 15. View the sine of 15 is just a number. I know we got a lot written here, but this is just some number. The sine of 15, some ratio. So this is going to cancel out. And my answer is just going to be 800 divided by sine of 15, whatever I get right there. So let's clear out my calculator here. And we're going to do 800 divided by, and we got to do 15, and then we're going to do the sine of that value. So 800 divided by the sine of 15 is coming up to be 0.25. And so far what the calculator's done is it's telling me that the sine of 15 is this 0.258 number. So if I hit equals, I'll get 800 divided by the sine of 15. And I'm at 3090.96. So if I'm rounding this to the nearest foot, I'm about 3091. All right, so let's write that in here. So my x value is about 3091, and this is in feet. Now, real quick here, when you're solving this equation, there is another way to kind of view this. If I look at this as the sine of 15 over 1 equals 800 over x, if you're uncomfortable or if you don't like this idea of multiplying both sides by x and dividing by the sine of 15, if you just put this over 1 and view this as a proportion, you can take the cross products. So you can do sine of 15 times x. And actually, let's put the x in the front here because I don't want to think it's sine of 15x. So if I have x times the sine of 15, and 800 times 1 is 800, and then divide both sides by the sine of 15 to get your x by itself, that's another way to kind of look at those steps right there. And you're going to get the same answer with that 3091. Now, the other thing that could have been done here, now you wouldn't be using the angle of depression 15, but you can use the angle of depression to get this angle right here. So this is going to be a right angle right here, because this is, you know, a vertical line. My horizontal is horizontal, so that's going to make a 90-degree angle. So 90 minus the 15 would be 75. And if that's my setup, now I am looking at, this is adjacent with respect to the 75 over hypotenuse. So I have the cosine of 75 is equal to 800 over x. And if I solve this, that's going to give me the same answer, 3091. So here, I'll do this the cross products in the proportion way. So cross multiplying, I have x times the cosine of 75 equals 800. Divide both sides by the cosine of 75. And 800 divided by the cosine of 75 should take me right back to this 3091 feet. So let's take a look at that. So let's clear this out. So we're doing 800 divided by 75 cosine, and then we have to hit equals, and there it is. There's that 3091 feet. And we'll remove this answer. And there you have it.